Right, this is Linton the Swarm Vassal, Bellator light heavyweight contender, and you're watching the MMA Crypt Fighting Talk Show.
Hello, Cryptos, Fight fans. It's Gregory Stoney. You're watching the Crypt Fight Talk Show. So, if you've been following the Crypt Fight Talk Show or recent news in regards to Bellator, you'll know that Mark Godbeer, he's pulled himself from the Bellator 158 card against James Mulheron. There was some questions, some doubt there if James would stay on the card. It's been bumped to the it's been bumped down to the undercard for Bellator 158. We have a replacement fight. It was announced a couple of days ago. We have Brock Lesnar return to the cage. We have Bob Sapp return to the cage. But we have our own beast, our own Goliath return to the cage. He is London's Neil the Goliath Grove. Neil, welcome to the American Fight Talk Show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
It's our pleasure, Neil. So, Neil, first and foremost, I really want to get into this in terms of the deal and how you was contacted, etc., because there was a lot of worry whether there would be a replacement fight. Was this something that you was keeping an eye on and threw your name into the hat, so to speak? Attack, they've been known to contact pretty much all the well-known fighters in the UK to appear on the Bellator 158 card. So was this Attack's doing, or was this your doing?
No, I think when they announced they were coming to London, I was very interested. I did approach two of my previous managers, and they said they'd go to work, and I never heard back from them. So I don't know whether they, it depends on their negotiations and Bellator at the end of the day. But I was then told that James Thompson and Kimbo, the late Kimbo, was going to be on the card as the main event, and then unfortunately, as you know, Kimbo passed away, and I thought I'd mention it, but I'd mention it once more, but didn't really want to impose on Bellator, seeing as they've lost one of their stars. And I just sort of hoped something would happen. Nothing happened, and then David Donald rang me, of all people, the UCMA MMA man, and he offered me a fight on Bellator, and then just passed me on to the Attack promotion, and things went running from there, mate.
Is Dave O'Donnell working with or working for Attack Promotions?
Absolutely no idea. Just happy the man called me, because obviously I think what had happened was they'd obviously asked a few other fighters, relevant fighters who are still on the scene at the moment, and I know that Dave would have said to them, you know, if you're going to get anybody to fight on your show, it has to be Neil the Goliath Grove, and that's what he said. If you want to sell tickets, speak to Neil.
So was you looking to fight James the Colossus Thompson again in a rematch? There, is that what you're saying?
Either or. You know what? I called Kimbo Slice out years ago, and nothing never ever happened. But the poor man passed away, and I was happy to fight James Thompson again. But then as time goes by and nobody calls you, you sort of just carry on with life. As a personal trainer, I just I keep fit, but I'm not fighting fit. So when they called me up and said to me, or on Monday, when David O'Donnell rang me, I just got to work immediately, sort of training right there and then.
So you talked there, Neil, about Kimbo Slice, that you called him out. I'm a guy who keeps track of you on social media. I've noticed that you call it Kimbo Slice. You call it quite a few guys, to be fair, Neil, over the years. Can you just jog my memory a little bit and remind me who you called out? I know you called it Alexander Emelianenko. I know you called it Kimbo. I think, was it 2 times you called it Kimbo? And I'm sure there was another person you called out over the years, Neil.
I've called out a few. I don't recall doing the Alexander one, but definitely Kimbo. There's been a couple of heavyweights I would have loved to have fought. I think Randy Couture was one as well, seeing as we are the same sort of age. He's maybe 3 or 4 years older than me now, or still. But yeah, no, you know what? I'm always up for a fight, and I think because it was Bellator, and I had such a good experience with Bellator fighting for them, I was really, really excited when I heard they were coming to London. And to fight for the promotion again and in front of a home crowd would have made all the difference. When you're fighting in America, it's good. I mean, I had some really good fights in America and one in Canada as well. And I had a good following, and but none as good as over here. You know, the British crowds, I think, are one of the best when it comes to supporting MMA and the MMA fighters, local fighters. And whenever I fought in London, I always attracted a good crowd. So I know it's only last minute for me, 2 weeks notice, and I've been pushing to get some of my fans to buy tickets. It'd be nice to have a good support there.
Does the amount of tickets you sell, does that impact your purse basically for Bellator 158? We know in the UK for like local promotions, UCMA, etc. I hate saying that UCMA is a local promotion because it does have such a big reputation in their history, but we know that a lot of fighters, they do get paid off ticket sales. Is this the same with Bellator in terms of Bellator 158?
I think because they've got another promotion helping them, and I suppose they need to get other promotions involved. Yeah, it's what we do over here for the fighters to get paid. The money is not as good in the UK as it is in America. But I think sponsorship and the televised deals over there allow them to pay us more money. So here in the UK, most of the fighters make their money back through sponsorship and selling tickets. David Donald was always really good to me when it came to the ticket deal. His purses weren't, but selling tickets was. And I think Bellator is doing exactly the same. I'm on the prelim card, so I'm probably, I think, the last fight just before the main event starts. And knowing how Bellator works, they will always have a set amount of time. So if let's say they've got 5 main fights on the main card, they will have enough time for 3 or 5 rounds. So if James Mulheron steps up and we put up a good show, put up a good fight, we will be on telly. So when it comes to sponsorship, it's good to be on British TV. I don't know. I think it's Channel 5. It might be on.
Spike TV UK. I think 5 on demand.
Yes, well, there you go. It's still a mainstream TV, so good exposure. And the guys have asked me, and I'm sure you're going to ask me this question. It's just a one-off, but I've said to the guys at Attack and some of the Bellator people, I said, you know what? If you come back and you do well with your first show and you come back to London, I'm happy to fight again.
What did they say to that?
That's good. If I stay in shape and perform, and as long as I'm happy, I'm not doing this for the money. It's pretty much just it's an itch it needed a scratch for the last 3 years. I quit in 2013, thought I'd had enough, but I kept watching some of the fights. I kept watching some of the heavyweights on the scene at the moment, and I always had this in the back of my mind with Steve, and he knows that if there was a good promotion coming to the UK and they offered me a fight, I would take it.
So, do you believe that your itch will be scratched post Bellator 158?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I started late in MMA. I was 36, 37 years old when I started fighting, so I haven't really had any serious injuries. So I think there's still a lot left in me. There might be another 2 or 3 good fights left in me.
Well, you talked about sponsors there. Obviously, short notice fight. Have you managed to scrape together any sponsors? Obviously, with the potential of your fight being on the main card with James Mulheron. Plus, you're at the O2 Arena. That's pretty big arena. There'll be a few thousand there at least watching. What's the capacity of that arena? Are we looking at about 11,000 upwards, potentially 8 to 11?
Yeah, no, I'd like to get some good sponsors in this time. Most of my sponsors, especially when you're fighting for UCMMA, it's a smaller event, and it's not televised most of the time. So trying to get sponsors in is not going to be that easy. It's normally friends and smaller companies, local companies that will sponsor me. So I'm tapping into them again.
Well, let's talk about James Mulheron. When I was breaking down the fight between James and Mark, I sort of believed that James Mulheron, he was going to counter-strike against Mark due to his aggressive striking style, also his pattern striking too. How do you see James approaching the fight with you? Obviously, from watching you, Neil, you can do a bit of both. You can be aggressive on the feet. You can also, I believe your best work is obviously counter-striking. You're really good at sidestepping, angle sidestep, following by the lead left hook, etc. How do you see this fight breaking down between you and James? Do you think he will attack you in the fight due to your power, due to your counter-striking abilities? And obviously, with your karate background too, you're very good at gauging the movement and the distance as well, and getting your timing down pretty much. How do you see the fight going? Who do you think will be the aggressor, the presser in the fight?
You know, it's really hard to determine what you're going to do as soon as the bell rings. You know, when the first bell rings to go in, I think instinct takes over. I've never really had a proper game plan. You sort of have an idea of what you're going to do or what you're not going to do against your opponent. But once you step in, you sort of assess how he's feeling. You can assess from what he's dishing out. I think James has got I like the way he fights. He's aggressive. He reminds me a lot of Stad Economy. He's durable. He's strong. He's he can take a punch. He's a tough opponent. So it's going to be touch and go. I still haven't decided how I'm going to go about it. It's either going to be like a James Thompson fight where we just go in and bang each other, or it could be a Martin Thompson fight for me where I'm just going to wait for the right moment to counter. It could be where I'm just fighting like I did against Robert Busberry the second time around, where I'm going to soften him up, slow him down, and then when it's ready, whether it's the first, second, or third round, go in for the kill. Knowing that James has won 3 of his fights through decisions, I know that he's going to be durable. It's going to be like fighting against Rob Broughton all over again, I suppose. I'm going to be wary. I'm going to be wary of his strength. I'm going to be wary of his strong points and everything he's good at. And I'm working on that at the moment, how to counter it. And as long as he doesn't eat any of my punches straight on, he'd be okay. I don't know whether James has been hit as hard as he will be when he faces me.
Well, I noticed James. He likes to keep that mid-range position. He likes to slip and roll, throw the overhands, etc., followed by the uppercut, etc. Is it important to stay at that mid-range position, manage the range on the centre line, keep him moving at all times, and try not to get into that static mid-range position and sort of brawl and roll with him, etc.?
Yeah, no, I do. You know what? It's like I said, there's certain fighters who I know I could stand toe to toe with. There's certain fighters, where you plan to move a little bit or avoid, their first couple of flurries or attacks. Even Thomas Lewinsky, he's a big bloke, and although I was faster than him, if any of his punches connected, you know what it's like in the heavyweight division. If you get hit, you're going to feel it, and it just depends. I'll see how I feel on the night. You sort of gauge in the first couple of seconds whether you're going to have to be moving or whether I can stand still. I'm 100% sure that James will not try and be his usual self when he comes into the cage, because if he does, it's the only thing I'm focusing on right now. Is just studying his fights, and if he comes in with any of what he normally does, he's going to have a battle on his hand. If he comes with something strange, I think there was an ex-UFC fighter that I fought in India. He came in, changed his stance completely. It threw me a little bit.
Todd Duffy.
Yeah, when Todd Duffy came in, he went from studying orthodox. He studied in southpaw with me, and he kept switching it, which threw me slightly. And that's the only time where I actually lost properly, because I had no idea of what was coming next. I think, James has had 9 fights. I've pretty much seen everything that's on the internet. Still watching some of them. I feel confident. I feel really confident. My age is not a factor. I've kept myself clean. I've kept myself fetish. I'm not. You know what? I walk around 300 pounds. For me to cut the weight, it's not going to be a problem. It's when I first started in the MMA scene in this country, where I started off at weighing 340, 350 pounds. Then you sort of overweight and it's really, really hard to cut the weight then. But no, I'm confident. I think I sort of spoke to Steve when I initially took the fight. I said to David, I just want to speak to Steve first, and I went to go see Steve, and I said to him, I just want 3 rounds with you. Tell me at the end of the 3 rounds whether I should take this fight or not. And after the first round, Steve said to me, let's take the fight. So Steve and I are very, very good friends, Steve Gladstone. I remember him saying it to me, I think it was probably my second or third loss with him. He said to me, should we call it a day? And I didn't call it a day at the time, but Steve has always been honest with me, and I just said to him, I know I can trust your judgment. I know I can trust how you feel about me. Just 3 rounds. And I did 1 round with him. It was only 3-minute rounds. Did 1 round with him, and he said to me, if you hit like that, all you have to work on is your fitness and a game plan, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, you mentioned the Thomas Savinsky fight there. I wanted to ask you this question because I was watching about before. Obviously, I mentioned that you angled off with the lead left hook, the angled sidestep, but followed by the counter lead left hook. I wondered why you didn't use the straight right in that fight. Regular sidestep followed by a straight right. Instead, you chose to use the lead left hook. Was there a particular reason for that?
When somebody's sort of the same size as you, they've got the same sort of reach as you as well. So I'm not a big fan of lead right hand in that sort of situation. But when you find somebody who's slightly smaller than you, shorter than you, stockier, that's then it will make more sense. Like you say, I'm a counter fighter. I'm a counter puncher. Your guard is nice and good when you stand up against me, and if you throw a punch, it's open. I think that's probably the main reason why I didn't throw a lot of rights with him.
Well, you talked about your punching power there. Do you believe your punching power is going to be the X factor in this fight? Because sometimes there is that X factor in a fight where someone really has to watch out for something.
I've broken my hands enough times. I've broken bones in my hands enough times, and I don't think it's because I hit wrong. It's because I just don't know how to hit softly. Most fighters have had broken bones and broken fingers and stuff, I'm sure. I've broken both thumbs. I've broken loads of fingers and bones in my hands. I just don't know how to hit without hitting as hard as I can. So that hasn't changed, by the way.
Am I incorrect in saying this, Neil? Because I sort of believe that you've been more patient over your career as it's gone on. It seems as if the more I watch you as time goes on, you seem more relaxed in the cage, more patient. There's no rush about you in terms of getting the fight finished, in terms of pushing the action. You seem a little bit more calm and relaxed. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, you know what? I think it's confidence. I've gained more confidence as my MMA career proceeded. I think initially my first big fight on Cage Rage, I think it was 21 or 22 against James Thompson, I had absolutely nothing to lose there. I took that fight on 2 days' notice. And I had one strategy in hand, which was left hook, right overhand, or uppercut. And I think initially there was a bit of a scurry in the middle, and then I just did what I planned on doing. And when you're in a fight where nothing really matters, then you sort of lose your head, I suppose. Whereas when you have a game plan and you know the strengths of your opponent and you've studied it long enough, you sort of wait for his weaknesses to start showing. And when they come, you counter, you take control of the fight. I think it's just evident it's going to happen. There's a few fighters out there who can sort of predict what's going to happen and predict what the fighter is going to do, which is going to open him up. I think I'm just going to wait. I know where James's weaknesses are, and as soon as it appears, I'll pounce.
Well, I've sort of highlighted two key areas in James Mulheron's game. Obviously, the first one was the mid-range, rolling style of striking. Obviously, the second bit is pretty evident and pretty clear to most fans. It's his clinch up against the cage, the Greco up against the cage. He looks for the body lock, trip takedowns, looks to grind, wear you down there. Now, obviously, with the reach advantage, it doesn't just come into play with striking. Now, you've got a big reach advantage on James Mulheron, plus a size advantage. He has faced super heavyweights in the past and been successful, so maybe it doesn't mean all that. But with a good reach, you get a good, strong whizzer on your opponent. Now, if you do manage to get a good solid whizzer, will you look to break away, or would you look to maybe pummel under for over-unders, double underhooks, and look to maybe work James over, make him pay for trying to take you down against the cage and trying to work you over there? Because I do believe at some point he is going to get you against the cage a good few times in the fight. That's where he will look to score on the judges. That's where he gets a lot of his best work done. So if he doesn't manage to get you in that mid-range position where he does get to roll and throw these looping strikes, uppercuts with you, I do believe he's going to try and press you back against the cage and look to try and take you down there. Maybe I don't see him personally going for single legs, double legs dropping down, because I do believe he'll eat some elbows, and I do believe he's going to be hesitant to go for that. But what would you rather do there, Neil? Would you look to turn him into the cage, get double underhooks, turn him into the cage, work him over against the cage? Would you look to get the whizzer, maybe break free? What would you prefer to do if he does get you against the cage?
Against Todd Duffy, who's a really, really good wrestler, he also pressed me up against the cage in the first couple of seconds of that fight. And I managed to turn him really, really easy.
Yeah.
Don't know if you can remember what the boy looks like. He's really strong, really muscly. I'm not weak at all. I know that James is going to have a lower sense of gravity, and he's going to keep it low. I've wrestled with some of the best in America. I've never really wanted to wrestle, but I just knew that I had to learn some of what it is they do and how they cope with being pressed up against the fence. And I'm happy for him pushing me up against the fence. I think if he does that in the first couple of minutes of the first round, he's going to blow himself out. I think I'm not going to be standing there waiting for him to hurt me or take me down or anything like that. I think the one thing that I haven't done in all of my fighting career is submit someone, and it's just playing in my mind the whole time with James. I think I might even have my first submission in this fight.
Wow. Front headlock position potentially. Maybe a guillotine, standing guillotine. I see a standing guillotine there, Neil. I really do.
Yeah, you know what? If it happens, mate, you called it. I'll mention you.
Well, the reason I mention that, I don't believe he'll go for a single or a double leg, because we know we're going for a takedown against the cage, etc. You can always be reversed. There's that potential of getting reversed. Now, in mixed martial arts in the UK, there's only two people I believe have got the deadliest ground and pound in the game. Which, if I was the fighter and if you was my opponent and I was facing you, this would be the highlight for me. Even if I was a coach, the head coach, whatever it may be, and I'm prepping my fighter, this would be the main highlight for me. Not your punching power, not the ranges. It would be your ground and pound. Both you and Mark Godbeer, you're deadly with your ground and pound. Once you have a fighter hurt, even if you sniff, just get them down to the ground for a few seconds. A lot of fighters are patient. You mentioned the submission there. A lot of fighters like to get the hooks in, look for the position first. I've never seen such vicious ground and pound from both you and Mark Godbeer. So either way, James, he's gone from one extreme to another in terms of ground and pound. So I believe that he's going to be hesitant. It's going to make him more hesitant against the cage. Not to take his risks, not to really try and force something. So do you believe he's going to be a little bit hesitant due to your vicious ground and pound, basically?
No, you know what? I think most fighters, I don't think there's a fighter out there who would step into the cage feeling hesitant about anything. You step in there with all that confidence. You've taken that first step. Stepping into the cage, you must be confident that you're going to be winning, that you're going to beat your opponent. And I'm sure that he's going to just focus on all his strengths and believe that he could beat me any which way he can. Which, I appreciate that, and I respect that with every fighter that I've faced in my past, win or lose. I've never stepped into the cage thinking I was going to lose, ever. Even in my losses, even in the split decisions against me, I thought I won. There is that thing in an MMA fighter where you know where your strengths lie, and you're definitely going to go for it against whoever you're fighting against. If you try something new, you're not going to be confident in the new thing, or it takes years to develop something new, to develop a new technique or a new style of fighting. I think unless you're training 24/7 and you're, the Irishman O'Connor, that's all he does. He's developing every day. Some of us, we're just really, really good at something, and we focus on that. We sort of counter and train how to counter our future opponent's strengths, and hope for the best. I think I've already seen how this fight is going to end. I've seen how the fight's going to end. It's going to end. It's not going to be a nice fight for him. It's going to end ugly. It's going to be brutal. But then he said that to me as well. Let's make this a really, really good fight that everybody wants to see and talk about. So he messaged me on Facebook, and that's exactly what the crowd is going to get. So if it does go to ground and pound, it's not going to be pretty.
I know that's a personal conversation between you both. Am I able to get those screenshots of your messages between each other? I do want to get James's response to this interview. I want to stick it on the end of this interview, just a couple of text messages. But I'd love to get that conversation up. If I get both your guys' permission, of course. Obviously, I need James's permission too.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Well, I suppose the obvious question is, 3 weeks' notice, taking a fight on 3 weeks' notice. What's your preparation? I think a lot of us are curious what a fighter has to go through on a short notice fight. You don't have the time to really fully prepare. I believe you only need about 4 or 5 weeks anyway. I believe these 8 weeks, 12 weeks training camps, etc. I believe that's a little bit over the top, to be fair. I think about a good 5-6 weeks is enough. So 3 weeks, but obviously you've got to factor in your promotional work, the days leading up to the fight. You've got to sort of peter off your training anyway, and the days leading up to the fight. Just what's your preparation going to be for the next week or two here, Neil?
Is to eat clean, train hard. You know what? Look, I've got a couple of pounds to lose, so when I say couple, I'm not talking about 1 or 2, and that's all I'm focusing on right now. And I think by eating healthy and using the supplements that I endorse through Herbalife, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life for this fight that I could get into in 3 weeks. Like I said, I've trained, but I've not really fight trained. I've not been fighting fit. For me, all that matters to me now is just getting my speed back up to point, cutting the weight. I don't need to do any strength training. I don't think I'll be any stronger than I am right now. Yeah, and I know what James is going to say to everything I've said, which is I don't know him personally, but you know me. I suppose I'm the gentleman in the sports. I don't have anything bad to say about any fighter until the cage closes. Then I turn into another animal.
Yeah, I don't expect James to be trash talking either, to be fair. Okay, one last question before I leave the mic open for you, Neil. What do you see? I've obviously highlighted a couple of things, what I see as James's strengths here, and wanted to get your response to that, obviously. But I want to leave this question open to you. What do you see as James's biggest strength in the fight?
His durability. He's a tough opponent. I think him going the distance 3 times with, I think it was with Staff. I'm not sure. I think it was Paul Taylor was another one. These are tough fighters. For him to last 3 rounds with those boys, and I've faced Staff as well. I think Staff was a bit younger then. Is his durability. He does look good against the cage. He knows what he's doing when he's up there against guys his own sort of stamp. Other than that, it's just going to be a brawl.
Okay, Neil, I'd like to leave the mic open to you. Anything you want to say, it could be thanks, mentions, it could be a message for James. Just anything you'd like to say.
Greg, I just want to thank you very much for having this conversation with me. Thanks for the interview. I think it's been humbling, the response I've had from my fans. You know, people saying how pleased they are to see me back on the fight scene. I've had a couple of people say they've bought tickets already. I've had a couple of people say that they're going to still be buying tickets, which is nice. And then also, obviously, just to James, that I know he's in the beginning of his career. I'm sort of in the limelight of my career at the end of my career. I'm not a stepping stone to anything better, mate. I think this is going to be your toughest fight to date.
Okay, Crip says that's a wrap for today's show. In terms of watching this event, like Neil mentioned there, there's a good chance that he will be on I would like to say televised main card, but it won't be the main card. It'll be sort of after. Obviously, the main card fights finish a little bit earlier, then obviously you get to see a few undercard bouts, obviously the best undercard bouts. And I'm pretty sure James Mulheron versus Neil Grove is going to be one of the highlights from the undercard. So you can check that out on Spike TV UK. Normally, the Bellator events in the UK on Spike TV UK are on a 24-hour delay. You get them pretty much the next day. So you'll be looking at the next day, roughly about the 17th of July, roughly around 10 p.m. Also, you can check out the Bellator website for more details. If you're in the US, etc., it's on Spike TV. And obviously, I'm not too sure about tickets. I'm sure there's probably still some tickets available. You can check out Neil Grove on his Facebook. You can check out the Bellator website for that. But from today's show, Crip says, fight fans, as always, guys, thank you for watching.